This video will show how to write morphophonemic rules for circumfixes. So we have here some verb stems, and now there's a circumfix. The circumfix has two parts, a prefix that's AA and a suffix that's ZZ. You can see the rule. It adds the prefix AA and the suffix ZZ with the past tense label. Let's write two morphophonemic rules. One will say that if the verb stem begins with an A, an E, or an O, then change the prefix from AA to AN. We're just making this up. The second morphophonemic rule will say that if the stem ends with an E, then we'll change the first Z in the suffix to a capital Z. Okay, just for illustration. So let's write a morphophonemic rule. The stem begins with A, E, or O. We're not saying all vowels, just A, E, and O. Then change the prefix to AN. Let's make it a capital N just so it'll stand out more. So this is a morphophonemic rule. Now when we're dealing with circumfixes, there's again two possibilities similar to the infix. Circumfix as prefix, circumfix as suffix. So I'd like to explain that. So here we have a verb stem, and there's a prefix, there's a circumfix that's a prefix of AA and a circumfix of ZZ. So again, the circumfix has two morpheme boundaries. But, as we said before, morphophonemic rules can only deal with one morpheme boundary at a time. So, if we say circumfix as prefix, then we're talking about the part of the circumfix that precedes the stem, and we're talking about this morpheme boundary. If we say circumfix as suffix, then we're talking about this part of the circumfix, and we're dealing with this morpheme boundary. So, we want to say if the verb stem begins with A, E, or O, then change this part. So we're dealing with this morpheme boundary. So it's circumfix as prefix. Circumfix as prefix. The included circumfixes are the past tense. So this time, the end of the prefix changes. The end right now is A. Let's change it to the capital N. I'm saying capital just so we can see it more easily. If the stem begins with A, E, or O. Not all vowels, just these three vowels. So now we see if the stem begins with A, then we have a capital N here. A, E, or O. So we see that worked. Now let's write another rule that says if the stem ends with an E, then change that first Z to a capital Z. Okay? So we'll write another rule. If the stem ends with E, change the suffix from CZ to Z to ZC. Again, I'm using capital letters just so we can see it more easily. This will be a morphophonemic rule. This time we'll say circumfix as suffix. The included circumfixes are the past tense. This time, the stem doesn't change. The stem ends with an E. The circumfix is ZZ. We want to change it to ZZ, just so we can see it easily. So now we see that if the verb stem ends with an E, we have a capital Z.